You've heard me preach a lot about the Nurture Right 360 being the best, easiest, most economical beginner incubator to use. And while I stand by that, I think the Brincey's better, but most of us don't really have the money to foot for the Brincey's. What I realized is that I've been using Nurture Rights for years, and I know some little tips that give me better hatch rates than maybe if you didn't know them. I'm hatching out some shipped eggs in my Nurture Rights right now, so I've also got a series of videos going on offering tips for having better hatch rates hatching shipped eggs. For the years, I have found these things to be true about my Nurture Right 360s. Most importantly, they really need to be kept in a climate controlled space. If you're in a space where the temperature fluctuates a lot from high to low, these Nurture Rights have a hard time regulating temperature, and you may have to do something like put a blanket around them or even move them into a different room, because I'm telling you, the temperatures will fluctuate. Always, always, always have a secondary thermometer and hygrometer in there. My Nurture Rights are notoriously off about a degree, sometimes up to 1 and 2, and that's even after calibration. So my Gove thermometers are showing 99.6 and 30, and we got 100.5 and 35%. So that's good. The humidity actually is almost accurate. We've got 100 degrees here and 99.5 here. There is a way to go in and calibrate these incubators, and so I mean take an external thermometer and calibrate how the temperature settings are reading on here, and that's different than like resetting the incubator like we do each hatch. I'm talking about calibrating the way the temperature reads. It's kind of strange how it calibrates. It doesn't give you the option to go like up a couple degrees or down a couple degrees. It goes in like settings of like 0.5 something measurements. It's weird. Anyways, all of that information is on my Patreon. It is generally accepted that we want to incubate our eggs at a temperature of 99.5 degrees, but usually if you're up or down about 0.5 degrees, it's not really going to cause you any serious problems. It's those spikes of like a couple degrees too high or too low that are going to cause you death throughout the incubation process. They're going to cause you chicks hatching too early or chicks hatching too late. And so with those kinds of things, you're looking at issues like underdeveloped chicks, shrink wrap chicks, just like a plethora of problems. It's best if you just get some external thermometers and try to keep your temperatures as close to 99.5 as you can. How many problems have you had with humidity in your Nurture Right 360s? How many times have you put water in there and then all of a sudden your humidity is at 80 degrees when you only wanted it at 35? Now, generally, it's accepted that throughout the incubation process, we want humidity to be at about 45 to 55 degrees until lockdown. And then at lockdown, we want to bump it up to about 65 to 75 degrees. But all of that is kind of dependent on what your location is, what your ambient humidity is like in your environment. Even altitude and elevation can affect incubation practices. So you'll have to do your own research on that. I'm in Florida. I like to incubate at about 35 degrees. And what I found in my Nurture Rights, I incubate in like a backyard shed that I have converted into my hatch house. I use a wall unit, like a window, a 5000 BTU AC unit running in here, and it stays about 79 degrees. It's a little bit humid anyways because I'm in Florida. So I like to run at 35%, and I use 2 capfuls. I just use 2 little capfuls of Zephyr Hill water. I add water to slot A twice a day, 2 capfuls, and that keeps me right about 35 degrees. Of course, just like temperature, you want to try to keep your humidity as stable as possible, but if it spikes or if it drops accidentally, it's not the end of the world. You just want to try to get it back to where it's at. So if your humidity spikes and you add too much water, just let it run out and then add 2 capfuls, way less water. The other thing to take note of, this vent right here will help you regulate humidity mostly, but also temperature. Typically throughout the incubation process, I have this vent closed, and then at lockdown, once chicks start hatching, I will open this vent. Once everybody starts hatching in there, humidity is going to be virtually uncontrollable because as those chicks are hatching, they're moist and it's going to bump the humidity up. So that's to be expected. All is going normally. Opening that air vent will help, however. And last but not least, this one's going to be difficult to show you because my incubators are being used, but when you clean your Nurture Right 360s, you do not want to flip the lid upside down because I've read that it can cause issues with the way the gauges read for temperature and humidity. You can unscrew. The thing up here does come unscrewed, so you can unscrew the fan, you can unscrew that gray part, and you can clean up in there with like Q-tips or a bottle brush or whatever without flipping everything upside down and without getting this wet. One time, my husband thought it was a really good idea to take an air compressor and clean out my fans. Let me tell you, it looked like a really good idea and they got super clean, but it also messed up my fans, and now some of my incubators are super janky, don't read right, and I have to be extra careful when using them. That's why I have my good nurture rights and my not great nurture rights. I still can't bring myself to get rid of them. Anyways, I really hope this helps. Feel free to reach out to me anytime with questions. Join my Patreon if you'd like to be a part of a community and have more one-on-one support. Or just follow along on Facebook if you're interested in hatching eggs.